All right, episode 72. Today we're going to talk about proven strategies to build a massive real estate business in less than 52 weeks. We're going to get started right now.
Right now.
All right, episode 72. Today we're going to talk about proven.
We're unmuted. Coming back to you, Nick. You ready?
Yep.
God damn it, the whole thing is just freezing like crazy right now. What's wrong with it?
All right.
Okay.
I think we're live, episode 72.
Good God.
Think it's live.
Where's our producer, Derek?
Interwebs. Are you frozen right now?
I see Nick moving. I'm watching.
This is the
live
problem
feed.
is that I have to. Okay, now he's moving.
Yeah. So I think I'm good. So today we're going to talk about proven strategies to build a massive real estate business in just under 52 weeks. But before we get started, if this is your first time listening to the only real estate podcast worth listening to, please go ahead and go over to iTunes. If you're listening to this on YouTube or on Facebook Live right now, go over to iTunes, subscribe to that, leave us a review, please, and then go and request access to the only real estate group worth being a part of on Facebook. Lots of great content and information being shared over there. And then last but not least, if you're wanting to take 10 plus listings every single month, like the HERG DFW group and the Good Home team, go over to touracademy.com/take10. Sign up for the Take 10 Plus Listings webinar. You'll be prompted right after that to sign up for Tour Academy for $1. You'll learn all our tips and tricks and our conversion secrets on how we're taking 10 plus listings every single month. But today we're going to talk about these proven strategies on how to build this.
I didn't prepare at all.
That's all right. You did prepare.
But what else is new?
That's right. But you are prepared because it's about proven strategies on how to build this massive real estate business in less than 52 weeks, right? And if you were on our Tour Academy Mastermind call this past Monday, right? That's another benefit to being part of the signing up for Tour Academy, is you get to be on our twice a month monthly.
Twice a month monthly.
Yeah, twice a month.
Twice a month Elite Members Mastermind. It was a good one last week, I should say last week. 2 days ago on Monday, we had Joe Rosen come on. He's an awesome agent out of Florida that has basically just moved to a brand new city where he didn't know anybody, no connections, no anything, has built a pretty freaking substantial business in less than 52 weeks. So he's sort of the motivation. Excuse me. Whoa. He was sort of the motivation for, I guess, our prompt for today's episode. But I think it's pretty cool because we can also talk about, what we did in our 52 weeks or what we do every 52 weeks to kind of continue to grow our businesses and things like that. I think we all had really, really different stories around the first 52 weeks of our business. And we talk a little bit about knowing what we know now. What would we do differently if we had to get dropped into somewhere completely differently and rebuild our business in 52 weeks? So I think that's a pretty cool thing to be able to chat about too.
I think it's a really common question that gets asked in a lot of these real estate groups and other places where we're like, what would you do if you got dropped into a new city and had to figure it out from there, right? And like I think what Joe kind of brought to the conversation was real practical, actionable stuff. Because a lot of people, you see those posts in those groups, and they're like, I'd door knock or I'd start cold calling everybody. And those are not wrong answers.
It's a bananas question in the first place because you're like, why would somebody drop me into a different city?
Yeah, like, why am I moving? Well,
Did I get kidnapped?
And it's funny because like being here in Dallas, I actually have that fear a little bit. Like what would happen?
Yeah.
Because I always say this all the time. For those of you guys who don't follow me on Facebook and understand how much I love my kid, like I always tell everybody, like I've always told Luke, like, hey, just understand that wherever you go to college, I plan on having a real estate business big enough where I can just leave wherever I'm living and come live in the city you're in or whatever, right? So like if you're not an insane person and actually like life takes you to another place and you have to start your real estate business over, I think the actionable stuff that Joe gave us is really good.
Yeah,
right.
100%, man, 100%. So we titled this. This is where I really want to take this conversation to, because we titled this, something about to the extent of stop being forget the motivation and just take action, right? Because this is where a lot of these conversations die on the vine. It's like we talk about all the things we would do, could do, should do, whatever. I think the 52-week thing in a different city is a pretty good thought exercise, because what generally tends to happen is that if you ask the question of the prompt, what would you do if you had to build a new business in a different city in 52 weeks? The stuff that you start saying you would do is probably a bunch of shit you're probably not doing in your business right now that you could already do here in the city that you live, right? So this is going to parlay into where is that disconnect between talking shit and taking action, right? And that's a really, really hard bridge for a lot of us to gap.
By the way, before we dive into that, right? And Joe Rosen, by the way, hopefully he'll make a comment here and join us, or comment later. But I can't put it on with this.
Okay.
But
if you wrap it around,
I don't think we've switched
the little ear holes.
Yeah, super.
So we've got these awesome masks.
It's pretty good, I think.
The only real estate podcast worth listening to, Mask and Tour Academy, each side.
Everything just broke again.
And we're having some technical diffiques.
I'm looking at Nick. Nick, just keep talking.
Yeah, we'll keep going with it. But that's a shout out to Brian Fox. He's a Dallas home inspector who does an amazing job, not just on inspections, but does an amazing job in really, really understanding how to be remembered.
Yeah.
Right. I know that. We've talked about him before, but Matt Bryan sent you over those wrestling masks or whatever they're called.
Dude, the luchador masks.
Well, and that's the really cool thing is that when Brian Fox had and this is not on the show subject today at all. Like, I just think it was really cool that we got these things. It was awesome to do it, so we want to give him a shout out. But I think it's a really great, important topic to discuss around like the thoughtfulness in what you're doing too. So if you guys haven't heard the story, my kid's way into like wrestling right now. He's 5, so why wouldn't he be? It's like dudes punching each other.
100%, dude. It's literally made for children.
Yeah, exactly. So he loved Rey Mysterio and like just all the flying around. And I am not kidding you guys. One day, which this made me look like super dad.
Sure.
I get to show Luke a video of Rey Mysterio directly addressing him. And it was Cameo. If you guys don't know what Cameo is, it's a website that you can go to and you pay a certain amount of dollars for celebrities to kind of like give you a personal shout out.
A little shout out, birthday
30 seconds or a minute long or whatever. But here's the thing is it had nothing to do with whatever. I still don't know what Brian Fox spent on it. I don't know what he did. But the thoughtfulness of it,
hell yeah.
it resonated in such an amazing way. And as we move into how you could grow your business in 1 year in a new place, I also think it's really important to understand the power of just being thoughtful. Brian and I are exploring that right now. We're using send out cards. If nobody's ever used that, we're starting to use it at a pretty high level. So hit me up and I've got, I can kind of explain to you kind of what we're doing a little bit and got a link for you to check out. But that's another thing, right? Brian kind of set up a system for me where my assistant emails me every day. It's got a little Google form link of who do you want to send a card to today, right? And it's a great, Brian's using this phrase lately, I'm going to swipe. It's a great thought exercise and who you have in your world that you would want to say something nice to.
Yeah.
And every day I struggle with it. It's not that there aren't plenty of people that I want to say thank you to or whatever, but it makes me really think about who has something going on in their life. One of my referral partners up in Boston, her name is Debbie Boris. I closed a referral for her in Southlake, at the end of last year, beginning of this year. And she recently had somebody who was really important in her life that she lost.
Yeah.
Right? So sent a card to her just around that, right?
Sure.
There's just so many ways to use that kind of stuff. And I think, just again to wrap it up, Brian Fox does an amazing job with just kind of hearing what people have going on and then parlaying it into something cool.
Yeah, 100%.
So we got these little funky masks today.
What's everybody saying live? Did we mess up the stream again?
I don't think so.
Oh, what are y'all talking about?
I don't know.
I'm so nervous that everything's going to break. But here's the thing. This is what you just said. It kind of hits perfectly on today's topic is finding new ways to take action, personalized action especially, and you usually already have the resources and the tools to do that. For us, all we're doing is transitioning the way you look at social media. Instead of doing it just to scroll and to put the content out, you're going, who needs a card from me? What's going on in somebody's life right now? Then I can go and connect with them on a more personal level. That's exactly what Brian Fox did. And, I mean, that's something as a story you still tell to this day. So we're probably going to transition into that type of thing pretty quickly. But here's what I want to defer to Nick here. Let's just prompt. 52 weeks you have to build whatever your goal is. You're dropped in a new city. What is your action you take on day one? I should say, just what do you do?
So let's go back and I want to ask some qualifying questions to this.
Of course he does.
Of course you do.
Of course he does.
Right? Because here's the thing, that it could be, all right, let me give you the answer to your question. Day one, I'm going and getting Red X Vulcan 7.
Sure.
I'm calling expireds for sale by owners. Day one, right away. But if we can take a little bit, and we're gonna share a little bit from the Tour Academy Mastermind, which is not what we do a lot of, because again, we want to make sure that we're keeping that value within our group.
Oh, I missed that time.
So we're
Everybody's freaking out. They forget we're in our own studio now. We can throw cans around and stuff. It's okay.
So but what Joe did, right? Joe knew that he wanted to move. He was strategic about moving to Port St. Lucie, Florida, right?
So it's unfair because, you have to add on some run-up time to those 52 weeks. That's
absolutely. Fair. So if you're just like, Nick, I'm going to drop you off somewhere, right? And assuming I'm already licensed, then that's what I'm doing. Day one, I'm calling expireds and for sale by owners. More than likely, I'm only going to call expireds.
Sure.
Build that up. And then I'm going to go with either a LionDesk CRM, some type of inexpensive CRM that I can make sure I'm tracking. I can send text messages, and I'm going to build that nurture follow-up.
Yeah.
Right? Because, look, that's the lowest hanging fruit.
Yep.
The expireds have already raised their hand. They were willing to pay some sort of commission, and I'm just going to go in like that. Because I don't have time to go and build up in 52 weeks. I don't have time to build that massive business by circle prospecting. Right? But our buddy Joe, who is very strategic, I'm gonna say that he's strategic because of that military background that he has.
Dude, when we're talking to that guy, like everything we're talking about, just like, dude, this is military discipline for sure.
It really is.
Yes, and so what he did is, again, he circled in on. He knew he wanted to move out of wherever he was coming from.
He was in Washington at the time.
Yes,
Yeah.
Washington. Yeah, right. He was a born again real estate rookie.
Yeah, pretty much.
Right, because he was licensed in Minnesota and kind of failed there. Definitely failed there and didn't do well. And so what he did do was he narrowed in Port St. Lucie because of the housing costs that he could go buy a house. I think he wanted to be somewhere warmer, I'm sure.
I would think.
I think when he gave us the criteria, right, wasn't it? It was he had a certain price point that he wanted to be within. He had some specifics for his family, right? He wanted to be close to a beach and some other things, and so like he really made it, he really made a strategic engagement in the city he moved to, right?
Yeah.
He narrowed the list way down.
Yes.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, and so from there, what he started to do is, which was interesting because I would have never thought about this, right? He started friend requesting everybody in Port St. Lucie.
Dude, he was saying he sent out like 7,000 or something like that.
He said that he lost the tracking on it, but he knew how many people he could friend request a day before it shut down his account. Right?
Yep.
And so what he started doing there is he started building up that momentum a year beforehand.
Yep.
Right? And so I started thinking, I'm like, okay, what if I wanted to relocate to Colorado? Right? Well, what I'm going to start doing today, I'm going to go and, all right, let's just say it's Denver.
Yeah.
I'm going to go and start, friend requesting people in Denver, small business owners, and I'm going to start making connections saying, hey, Matt, I'm moving to Denver soon. I just wanted to meet like-minded people and get to know the area. What do you love about Denver, blah, blah, blah. Start having that conversation. I may start a real estate group just to throw them in and start ask questions. But he started doing that and talking to the city council, school board members, and business owners, right? I don't know many people who's been that strategic in doing so.
It was really, when he was talking about that part, like that was something that I would have never thought of, right? Like we've all done these kind of things before where like move to a new city and then call people and stuff. But like the idea of like reaching out to business owners and start engaging them in relationship. And then of course his specific talent is then backing it up with action.
Yep.
Right? Like, so they see like, oh, this guy's really doing what he says he's going to do.
Yeah, 100%.
That was a genius move. We live in this city and don't even do that.
But that's what I said. That's what kind of bleeds into the actionable advice today. He made another great thing that he does consistently every day, makes 65 calls in the morning every morning.
Yeah.
Expireds or FISBOs or whoever, or circle prospect. It's not an insane number. It's not a Nick Good number or anything. But here's the thing. We talked about this on the mastermind, right? It's like the difference is, those people that are saying, they're going to make 300 calls a day or something like that, like it's really difficult to keep that stamina up. Yeah. A lot of times we're on it with ourselves. We're making 300 calls on Monday, and by Thursday, we've got a lot of personal shit going on because we're finding a way to come into the office late. You know what I mean?
course.
If you can do 65 every single day consistently over time, that's huge, and that's where like taking this out of the hypothetical, the theoretical into the actionable is that all this stuff that we talked about with Rosen is stuff that most of us really aren't even doing in our business right now anyway, right? Like if you put forth the goal that I'm going to go meet small business owners, especially, like I cannot think of a better demographic of people to get in more close ties with right now because they need us, we need them, right? If you're not having a goal, I'm going to go talk to 3, 5, whatever small business owners every single week, even if you're not doing a video about it. Right? Just how hard would that be? Is, hey, I'd love to sit down and know more about your business because I run a business as well. I'd love to see how I can help you.
So real quick, something that just came to my mind just talking about this, right, is right now, live viewers, we got 35 live viewers, right? So if you're
37.
37. If you're listening
34.
live, right? Goes up and down.
17.
So if you're listening live,
get the camera off, Nick. 5.
Start adding, tagging agents into this, right?
Yeah.
I want to get this up. And we will share a LinkedIn strategy, right? There is an affiliate program that we run out of that, but it's a LinkedIn strategy to go and start reaching out to small business owners. We've got a great program through our buddy Justin Nelson on. So I want you to start tagging people, tagging agents, tagging inspector, tagging loan officers in this. If you're listening to the replay, you got to leave us a review. Leave us a review on iTunes. Subscribe. If you're not an iPhone user, I guess go to Spotify and subscribe there, and then send us a message.
I'm so confused about how that stuff works.
I think you can only leave reviews.
If you're an iPhone user?
Yeah, on iTunes. I don't know if that's true. Soto told me that. I don't know if that's true or not. I think he was just trying to get out of it.
He doesn't seem like
the
preeminent
But if you're listening
expert.
to this replay, right? You're listening to the replay on this on iTunes. You're watching the YouTube video. You're watching this on Facebook. Comment. And we will get you that link so that you can learn more about how you can start building, finding and building connections with these small business owners.
Yep.
So that you can build a plan of action, one, to get into their world. Because, you start getting into their world, how many people do they know?
Yep.
And then you become their referral partners.
It's so weird, man. It's to kind of like jump back into the subject matter. It's just this is why I really want to transition the conversation at some point to getting out of the motivational and getting into the action based, because we have this weird hang up where like things seem very clean and cookie cutter when we're in the motivational stage. Like, I'm going to do this. I got my top fairy business plan. I'm going to fucking, put it all out and it's going to be awesome. And then like when the actual actions start to take place, they're very messy and they're very scary, and like they're very like there's a lot of ups and downs, a lot of failures, stuff like that, and we feel like things aren't going according to plan, and then we stop taking action, right? Like one of the things that Joe does really well is just takes consistent, disciplined action all the time. And you can just tell just from talking to the guy's a little bit of a freak of nature in the sense that like he just does not care how people perceive him or whatever. Like he's gonna do his thing, whatever. And that's a really, really awesome mindset to be able to build, because as I start to think back, Matt and I have been really blessed to grow a business, that's pretty phenomenal. And Nick obviously is the same thing. And if somebody asked me today, like, how do you build an awesome real estate business? Like we've sold just over $27 million in real estate so far this year. So on pace to do a little over 50 million, which is awesome. I would sell to that person like, I don't know, just like try a whole bunch of shit over and over every single day. And it's like if you asked me like what the roadmap was, I have no idea. But the thing was, we took consistent action all the time. And so when you get into that stage where it's like, dude, you can be as motivated as you want. You can lay everything out perfectly. One of the things that Joe does really, really well is like he didn't do any market research on like these are the exact activities that are going to give me the best bang for his buck. He just decided these are the actions I'm going to take, and he took them consistently every day. And now they're working. It'll change stuff in the future or whatever, but it's that consistency.
And I think what he said that was really important, and I'm actually living this out as we speak, is that don't be afraid of putting out your B+ stuff.
Yes.
Right? Like that's the other thing too, is we all get so caught up in this. I just realized that I just shared this podcast out to about 40 groups with 100% the incorrect headline. Like the headline of this right now in every group is what's the worst place you've ever dropped a key? Go. Because
Somebody,
that's part of a post
somebody
that I
just
wrote-
commented. Christina said the toilet. It was in my pocket.
Christina Smallhorn, and I'm realizing as people are liking this on other pages that I completely botched this thing. Here's what I'm not going to do. I'm not going to go back and fix that on a single one of those.
Nah, fuck it.
Because we'll do this again next week, and it'll figure it out, and it'll be whatever. But I think what Joe, the main thrust of what he did, and I think kind of what we've had some success at, not just in our real estate businesses, but also with all these ancillary things that we do, is like not being afraid to take the failures or getting too bent out of shape about them. You know, we all have things in our life that will just shut us down. You know, we all kind of, very candidly, the part of the reason I like doing the show is we all kind of came in here today with like, hey, look, we all got some other stuff on the back burner right now that we're dealing with. Everybody is a little bit like, energy levels are a little bit low. But very honestly, sharing that out incorrectly just kind of jazzed me up, because now there's going to be people who are watching this show that wonder why we're not talking about where we dropped a key. And you should go to our actual
100%.
Facebook group if you're watching this and want the real conversation, because it was part of a post I did about 20 minutes ago.
I think that's hilarious, dude.
But the reality is, like, just don't be afraid to put out whatever it is that you're doing and just letting it ride. That's a huge part, even if it's with the calls or the video content or whatever you're doing. And that's a huge part about, I think, pressing into any market, especially a new one too, is just being willing to fail a little bit.
And it's like that. I mean, and that's like that goes towards every persuasion, right? We talk a lot about content creation on here now because it's something that's become a lot bigger part of our business. But that applies to everything as menial as door knocking, right? That's how I built my business in the beginning, was just door knocking, right? Guess what? If you've never door knocked for real estate before, guess what you're not going to be good at right away? Door knocking. You're gonna fucking suck right at the beginning, and it's you're not doing anything wrong. You're just not very experienced, right? And so you've got to just have that discipline and consistency even when things aren't going right. I think our YouTube was a really, really good example of that. We review taco places all over our area, and we do one a week, or we used to do one a week, and we got into it just knowing it was going to be bad right away. We brought 3 cameras to the first one. I don't even know what the fuck we were thinking. 3 cameras, no mics. One of them fell off a chair. The other one overheated.
It was Brian's Andy Warhol shot.
It didn't make any sense whatsoever. And still, to this day, we have a lot more kind of production value and stuff that goes into them, but really nobody even watches them. They're kind of for our own sphere of influence. But we started to put up other videos just because we had the studio now. We started to do stuff. I messaged Matt like a week ago. I was like, did you realize this Best Neighborhoods in Dallas video has like 10 times more views than every one of our other videos? Like, why are we not doing more of that? Like, we didn't even realize. We just did enough stuff consistently that we're starting to figure out what works, and that's kind of how, that's how it works.
So that was the number one thing, right? It was his consistency. So again, he picked out where he was going to go, right? He was strategic in that. He started being consistent with his friend request in that Port St. Lucie area.
Yeah.
And then what he started doing, right, is making Monday through Friday. I don't know if it was 7 days a week.
No, it's Monday through Saturday.
Monday through Saturday. So
65 calls.
65. So 6 days a week, 65 calls.
65 calls, guys, not 65 contacts.
Yep.
He's just calling 65 people.
Yeah.
That should not be an impossible number for you to hit on a daily basis in your business.
90 minutes to 2 hours.
What was the old number for your squad?
So we had it to where when we were in this office right here, 300 dials a day, right? So 1,500 dials a week.
Yeah.
Right. And so he was doing 65 dials a day. Right. If he missed a day, he needed to make it up. He needed to do 130 that following day. And that results from those results right there. What he would do is he was adding 25 to 30 people into his database a week.
Yeah, I don't doubt it.
Right? And the script, and I'm blanking out on the script, but you can go to touracademy.com, sign up for the membership so you can go back and listen to the mastermind replays that we have. But it was a stupid, simple script, right?
It was basically what we try to do. It is try to get a secondary piece of contact information and get permission to follow up.
Correct. But it wasn't even actually he didn't even have a permission to follow up. It was more about the email of it.
Yep.
Right? And so it was, can I get your email just so I can stay in touch with you?
Yeah.
Can I get your email? Right? And then he is consistent week in and week out. He uses constant contact. And week in and week out, he sends out a weekly email, kind of
Yeah.
newsletter, but it's not a news. It's more graphics
Sure.
and buttons to click, right? And I can pull it up.
That was the one big thing that I took away from that. That man, he and I were talking about how many you could do so many different things if you're into digital marketing and stuff too. Really putting a lot of clickable buttons in your emails, right? So he's got and not just hey, check out homes on the MLS. He started to itemize hey, are you looking for just lakefront property or waterfront property? Click here. Just 3 bedrooms? Click here, whatever. And then you could track those conversions because they're going to go to somewhere where you probably have a cookie or a pixel or something. People like clicking that type of stuff in your emails.
Yeah.
That probably converts pretty well.
So this is what it is, right? So it's not even a sexy title, which is what we talked about on the mastermind call. It's Treasure Coast Market Report, July 1st, 2020. Has his photo. When you open it up, has his photo, has his brokerage, findafloridahouse.com, Joe Rosen, the July 4th edition in red, white, and blue. Right, and then no one works harder for their clients, and then it's got a photo with a pool in it. What are your plans for the 4th? I'm looking forward to some grilled steaks, a little pool time, a relaxing day with my family. And then it's got for sale by city, so Fort Pierce, Jensen Beach, blah blah blah, and then for sale by specialty, oceanfront, all waterfront, or $1 million plus.
Yeah.
And then he's got his logo, The Joe Rosen Show, which is his YouTube, which he's got over 3,000 subscribers in less than a year on that too.
See, that's something we don't do, and maybe that's something we should. Is if you're doing a YouTube channel or a podcast, something like that, link that stuff in your emails. We do this for agents, we're agents that do this podcast for other agents. But I still have a lot of clients that listen, and I think it's pretty dope, right? So we need to put that in our email stuff too. I like how he makes it personalized too, right? There's a lot of things that people don't do, especially with market reports and updates. Him talking about his plans for the 4th, making it a little bit about him. He is incredibly good at becoming a dude that like, and trust before you even meet him in person. And that should be the goal of any of your marketing efforts.
Right. And Constant Contact, I believe, is relatively inexpensive. He doesn't even have that many. When I asked him, I thought it was 1,000 people on his email list, right?
Oh,
so
yeah.
it's not like he's sitting on tens of thousands.
Yeah.
And he's got stat of the week, and then so average sales price, etc. Sold homes, beaches closed over the holiday weekend. So that was the Corona deal.
Kind of, current events or whatever.
Yep. And then he does the quarterly giveaway.
So that's cool. He does the Amazon thing, right?
Amazon, and then he does something else. He flip flops it. It's a $250. This one was a $250 Amazon gift card that ends on October 28th. He didn't go into much detail on how that qualifies for that.
Sure.
I mean,
but here's the deal: if you make it low, a low amount of work for the people in there, they'll take action, right? We the $250 a quarter, $1,000 a month. That's super easy to set up a contest like that to get people to take action, right? You could do it. Hey, check out what your home's worth. Maybe you could win a $250 gift card, right? Just have them go to your own valuation page, dude. Super simple.
And here's the thing with that is that when we, one thing that we did not talk at the beginning is building this massive business in under 52 weeks. He's closing 5, 6, 7, 8 transactions in a month. He has $2.5 million under contract right now. And in less than a year's time, because it's not even a full 52 weeks. I think next week is. So we're shooting this. This is being recorded July 15th. And he is, I think next week is going to be his 1-year anniversary down there. And he's now also building out his team.
Yep.
Right? Which rightfully so, because he's now got the proven model. And he on top of just his 65 calls, he's very strategic in his calendar.
Yeah.
So, for example, when we asked him to come on and share with us on our tour mastermind call, and he said, actually, that's perfect because I only have that hour. He only had that hour, time available anyway, so it just happened to match up. Right after that, he had a listing appointment. He had 2 listing appointments, one at 7 and one at 8.
Yep.
He blocks out, I think it's only 30 minutes or was it an hour of dinner and family time.
It's an hour,
and
but
then he
that's
goes back into work.
Yeah.
Right? Because he understands right now it's building that up.
Sure.
Right? He schedules lunch or he schedules his breakfast is in there, and he says if he doesn't have a lunch, which we'll go into that next of what he's doing consistently with that, is that if that's not on his calendar, he forgets and works through lunch.
Yep.
100%.
Right, which is something I think Matt you had brought up, or maybe it was Brian on there.
Well, Brian probably brought it up. I will speak to what I think the challenge a lot of real estate agents run into is we just don't honor that part of it, right? Like we love the idea of time blocking, and it's really sexy when our coach tells us to do it, or our business planning, whatever tells us to do it, and we just don't. Brian and I actually talked about that today because I've got some stuff that I'm trying to work myself through, and having some sort of like legitimate schedule and plan for my day is something that I don't really adhere to. And what Joe does is that he is really, really good at setting specific times, right? He's got that 7-Eleven accountability group.
Yep.
So he was talking about that. It's like he gets up, he knows that he has to do certain things in the morning prior to going before his group, where he's now set up reverse accountability for himself by starting this group with all these people who are counting on him to show up because they need the juice in their day. And that propels him forward into his, right? And I think he does a really great job of that.
I think that's big, is putting mechanisms in to help keep you accountable. Like that group is going to depend on him, right? You know what I mean? Like I miss, stuff in my schedule sometimes that nobody knows about with me. I got to get this done today or whatever. But like every 9 a.m. we got our team power up and I run it. And so I've never missed one, right?
Yep.
So it's like when you can rope other people that are counting on your accountability, it makes it way, way, way easier to stay disciplined. He's a master of that.
Yeah, and the other thing that he's doing really, really well in this consistent. So let's recap what he started out with. Okay, so friend requested 7,000 people in Port St. Lucie.
So
right,
nice.
the year before he made that transition.
Yeah.
By the way, and he said it was okay to share this. He did have some money saved up. Right?
Sure.
He had some money saved up because he planned this.
Yeah.
And once that money ran out, That was business was done, and he needed to make that money, and that was business money and personal money. To make sure that everything that he could live. And so, that's another important thing, that if you're going to go do something like this, or if you're new to real estate or thinking about getting your license, have some money saved up.
That's the other part of this conversation. We kind of titled this, how would you like build a big business in 52 weeks? And we're talking about Joe moving to another city or whatever. But the reality is, like, if you're an agent who is new, or an agent who is struggling, or an agent whose business is getting its ass kicked all over the place by coronavirus, this is just as workable in your current market already. And Brian said at the beginning, these are things that you can do already for yourself. They're hugely important to anybody whose business is struggling too. I think that you could jump in at any point and start doing a lot of this stuff.
Yep. And I will tell you, like, we like to use examples of this that's where it's working, especially like in our businesses. So on this podcast, where other agents are replicating it, a local guy, we've all texted and talked with him, David Fleming.
Yeah.
Right. He was referred to us by Joe Rosen, new agent, and was trying to feel his way around, following very similar to what Joe has built.
Sure.
And I talked to David's loan officer yesterday. He's got like 3, 4, 5 deals under contract right now.
Good
right?
for him, man.
And he is less than a year in the business. And so it's really that consistency and it's that compound effect.
Yep.
Right. And so again, the 7,000 people that he friend requested and was building that rapport and that relationship the year before. And then as soon as he was licensed, he started, calling 65 people every single day. That added 6 days a week. That added 25 to 30 follow-ups, nurture follow-ups in his system, which in episode 71 last week we talked about the definition of what we determine as a nurture, right? There's the 5 criteria in that. So go to episode 71, listen to that. Or if you're on Facebook, you can just go.
It's in the comment section too.
Yep.
There you go.
So you can, so what he also does is he will go and have lunch or breakfast with local business owners, local city council members, local politicians, right? And he will do he does this Facebook Lives, right? If you start doing all that strategically day in and day out, there's no reason why you can't replicate the type of business, right? And then what will end up happening is that after a year you get these deals start closing. Now you went into a place that you had no sphere.
Right.
Now you've got sphere and referral business starting to happen.
Got sphere, referral business. You've got money that you can inject into real marketing avenues that are going to help you leverage your time out better. Like 100%. Like, this is, I think, where a lot of people get off the rails is they think that all the stuff they have to do early on is just the stuff that you have to do forever, and it's not. It's one of those reasons where it's just like, you know, when you're able to look back sometimes after 8-9 years or whatever, and you know, kind of think about how you got there. You're like, I don't really remember specifically what started working. We just, you know, I remember all the really tough times more than I remember the good times that got us here. You know, but like those seem so long ago now. Like all that door knocking seems so long ago now and stuff, you know, and I think people think that it'll be like that forever, but it's not.
I used to tell agents this when I trained too, and I never meant it disrespectfully, but like if you're in a new city or you're a new agent or even your business is struggling, I'm not denying the fact that you may have a family and other obligations, but time is your biggest asset up front. Until you have that knowledge, the amount of time that you can spend dealing with a transaction or helping clients or educating yourself, that's your biggest value proposition to your future clients and your future business, right? Like when I started hustling the agent referral game, which is, it's probably been 3 years now. Like it seems like, but I will tell you right now, sitting here, it doesn't feel like that long ago. And the amount of business I get from it now isn't something that like, I felt like I put in so much work that like, I even deserve this level of business. I went and worked the clients and I serviced them properly, and now I get more referrals because of it. But I was going to do that anyways. Right? Like the actual act of building up that referral side of my business just was in some intentionality for a little while and being really focused on driving that part of my business. And now it's there. And now it's more in maintenance mode than anything else. And I think as real estate agents, we just get caught up in all these sexy things, even like our headlines today, right? Like how to do all this stuff in a year, right? And that's great. You can do it. But also just understand that there's like a little bit of an unfolding process to this, and don't get discouraged when it doesn't. You also don't have deals fall into your lap after you made your first week of calls.
Exactly.
Well, we've got to give sexy headlines anyway, because otherwise people aren't going to watch.
No, we should. Like I said, when I mess them up, it's even better.
Right.
So we are talking today about where's the worst place you've dropped a key.
Where's the worst place you've dropped a key?
Here's the thing is, I'm going to tell a quick little story on this because it's actually really embarrassing, and I would never ever do it now. But as a new real estate agent, like, and if you understand anything about Matt's personality, like I'm secretly a tough, or I'm publicly a tough guy, but I'm actually kind of a giant turd when it comes to like certain things. And I had this situation. It was probably one of my first 5 clients ever, where I had went to a house and it was very far away from where I was located.
Okay.
Right? And I showed him, like, it was one of those times in your career where you're willing to show a client any number of houses.
Anything, anywhere,
any number of houses. I will drive wherever. And we had been on like a 150 mile, like 14 home tour on a Saturday or whatever. And I get home and I have my keys in my left pocket, my phone in my right pocket, my wallet in my back right pocket. So my back left pocket is it's always been where the key's gone. Still to this day, my back left pocket's where the key goes, right? And I get home and take off my pants and there's a key in my back left pocket. And to this day, I still don't know what house that belonged to. That key never made it back.
Never made it back? Oh, no.
That key desperately went in the garbage away from everything because I was so convinced that I was going to get in so much trouble. So the worst place I've ever dropped a key is on my own damn self and then into the trash out of fear because I was scared. I had no idea where to go back and put it.
I would echo the same. Like I've never dropped one or lost it. Like, where what was it? It was Christina Smallhorn's like toilet was in my pocket and fell right in the toilet.
That in between the crack on the deck or something though, where it's impossible. That would be horrifying.
You guys won't. I would say my wife happens to be running the cameras today. She will not believe this because I tend to drop everything. But I've never actually dropped a key somewhere I can't get it. I've taken 2 home, though, with me. Luckily enough, they were within driving distance. Nobody knew any better. I was able to run them back. Nick doesn't even, I don't know if Nick even remembers the story. My favorite, like, key-related story, I think it was UP or it's either Highland Park or University Park. It was like one of these old-ass houses in the 50s. And I thought I locked the door, but I guess I didn't because Nick calls me like 3 hours later. He's like, hey, is this Brian? Did you just show our house? Or I was like, the front door was wide open. I was like, oh, God. I was like, Nick Good, he's so famous.
Did I actually call?
Yeah, you did. You're like, it just looks really bad for us. He was nice about it, but he was like, just looks really super terrible bad for our sellers. Could you never do that again? I was like,
please don't show our listing.
I'll try my best.
One of the rare times I made that phone call, I'm sure.
This was 8 years ago, maybe. So, yeah, it was a while back.
So, Brian McDonald talked about, I hate doing Facebook Lives. And here's the thing, like, we in the beginning we all hated it. Just like today with this show, we're like, is it going well?
Is it
Who
going?
cares?
Yeah.
Like, I mean,
Yeah, I don't
we've
know if
had
you
as
guys
many as
watched the
40
intro, but it didn't get off without a hitch. That's
We're still
for sure.
figuring out this in-house studio.
Yeah. And so what Joe's done and what you can do when doing this, he's not just going Facebook Live and talking, which he does now, right? He has a 7-Eleven accountability group where he does it at 7:11 a.m. every single morning. And somehow he's pepped up every single time. Like I will see it in the morning, and I don't ever listen to videos with the sound on.
Yeah.
But he's over there, just his hands are going, his face is red. He's a big Tony Robbins guy, right? So it makes sense when he said that. But what Joe is doing, he's interviewing these people, these small business owners, right? And it's much easier if you're going to do a Facebook Live when you have someone else on there. Like, look, I very rarely will go and do a Facebook Live by myself.
No, it's honestly that's one of the reasons we're a little bit behind on our YouTube videos right now, because I'm kind of like that too. Unless Matt's here, I'm like, I don't want to shoot anything. It's true. That's actionable advice too. If one of your barriers to content creation consistently is that you're afraid of what you look like in front of the camera, you won't know what to say, blah blah blah. Like, offset that by partnering with someone. Have somebody else on every video that you're interviewing or talking to or whatever. It makes it way easier.
Yeah, and that's the number one thing. And here's the thing: it makes it valuable because what he's doing, he's making it valuable to that business owner, right? He's not asking about, hey, do you happen to know anybody? He's truly genuinely interested in that. What did he bring up? Was it the HVAC person or someone? He's like, I'm asking him about their stuff. Right? He's like, not saying, hey, Brian, you happen to know anything about buying or selling real estate? He's going all in and making sure he can provide as much value to that vendor, that business owner. And then it gets promoted out into their world.
Yep.
And then what does it do? He's called, like, his business is really the Joe Rosen Show. Right, that's what he's branding his real estate business with, and then what is it? Find a Florida home or something like that.
Yeah.
And that's what he's doing really, really well.
Yep.
I think another thing you could do too, and he didn't talk about this, but I recently joined a group like this, and I've thought about ripping the idea off because it does so well. And I have no idea who actually admins this group. I don't even know how I ended up in it. But we have a group. Now, keep in mind how huge the state of Texas is, right? And Florida's a huge state too. But I think you can do this even in a local niche market. There's literally a Facebook group I'm part of that it's called Move to Texas. I don't know who started this group. I'm sure it's a real estate agent, and it was a damn genius move.
It makes sense, yeah.
Because I look in that group every single day. There are multiple posts from consumers who are asking questions about, hey, I'm looking to move to Texas. What's the best city to live in? Hey, I'm looking to, I'm going to move to Plano. Where's the best mobile home park? Hey, I'm looking to move to where, like, they're asking really specific questions in there. And I think if you're like Joe and you saw your move coming and you were able to prepare for it, adding something like that to what you're doing is really amazing as well, because then you just get all this free opportunities at conversation, right? Like, we're all a part of these real estate agent referral groups. Those are all ran by other real estate agents.
Exactly.
Who probably keep the agents that are in their cities out of those groups as well, so they get exclusive right to theirs, right?
100%.
And here's the deal is, if you build a real estate group up to 20,000 people, 4,500 people like we have, which, by the way, go add all your real estate agent friends to the only real estate group worth being a part of, because we're trying to grow that too. When you have access to that, when you're the admin of a group, there is some first right that you get, at least the first, if you're nurturing that group the way you should, there's a lot of opportunity that you can have conversations with people in there, right? And that group can be a bunch of other things. It can be small businesses in Port St. Lucie and just invite small business owners. It could be a million different things, right?
100%.
I think that's another really great thing you could add if you know you're heading somewhere.
And by the way, Justin Nelson, he messaged me and said that the link that he had, some bot had, was requesting like 500 LinkedIn demos a day, so they had to take the website down. So he said, comment on here, tag Justin Nelson. So if you're watching the Facebook live feed or if you're on YouTube, Justin Nelson's Sphere Rocket, mention Tor, Tore, and ask him about the LinkedIn strategies that he has. Right, it will cost some money, but it'll be worth it, because you're going to build out this small business owner group. So just like you were talking about, Matt, just like our group, the only real estate group worth being a part of, we were consistent in that, right?
Yep.
Growing a Facebook group is not easy.
No.
we're still, we had this drinking idea one night. We're like, we're just going to start a Facebook group, and what do we do? And it was a shit show in the beginning where we went live from my house.
The first video was too many freaking White Claws. That video still may be there.
It still may be.
Talk about being able to look back and just be like, what were we doing?
Right, and so from that, it can be messy, it can be sloppy, but if you're consistently putting value into those groups, it will return value to you. So again, if I'm going and being dropped into another city and I know it, I'm gonna go start a Facebook group. Yeah. I'm gonna add 7,000 people. I'm gonna start building that rapport. I may even start. This is not something that Joe did. This is something that would be, if you know where you're going, I would probably start a local podcast show.
Yeah.
Right? Start interviewing those people right now. Build up that bank. Build up that YouTube.
Yep.
Right? Because you're not talking real estate just yet.
No.
But you're learning. So you're going to be asking from the same questions that consumers are going to be asking if they're relocating or if they're wanting to buy there. What's the best subdivision? What's the
you're
best
just kind
city?
of putting yourself in their shoes, exactly.
Yeah. So you could go and start a podcast, build out your Facebook group, then start friend requesting people. Then you go and start moving there and start doing his 65 dials a day.
Yep.
Right. And you can then promote the show.
Yep.
Right. Hey, by the way, I would love to send you more information because we're reaching out to small business owners like yourself, Brian. Mm-hmm. And, would it be okay if I sent that to you just so you can do some more research on what our show is? So maybe you'd be interested in being a part. Well, yeah, I'd love that. Boom. What's your email address? Great. And then I'm going to send you the weekly, coastal treasure report, every week with that. And I've got my show linked in there.
Yep. Yeah, 100%, dude.
I think it's funny. I was on a podcast recently. It's the Resourceful Agent. You can find it on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. It's one of our business partners out in Coeur d'Alene, which I didn't realize how beautiful Idaho was, by the way.
Gorgeous.
Like being from Iowa, like I always resent Idaho and Ohio because that's the other two states people guess first. Yeah. They're like Iowa. I'm like, yeah, corn, sons of bitches. Right? But like the reality is like he's done a really good job locally of bringing in entrepreneurs, business owners to bring awareness around who he is. And around, like I shared out 2 of the clips from my show, and I've still got like 6 more that I'll be sharing out over the next 6 weeks that ultimately will bring a little bit of my audience to his audience, right? Like that. Nick's a big fan of actually viral marketing, the company, but the idea of viral marketing as well. Like when you start bringing in local experts or like right now, guys, you want to know a really great show? What you should do if you have a local podcast, you should bring a local teacher on your show right now.
Oh, hell yeah.
You have about 2 weeks to capitalize on the fact that everybody who's a parent has no idea what to do regarding schools opening back up, right? If you send your kid to school, some people think you're the worst. If you keep your kid home from school, some people think you're scared of everything, right? Like I don't give a shit what side of that political argument is what it is now that you fall on. The reality is like having a teacher on right now, where we used to record the podcast at RNC, and there was a lady who does a show there that is hyper focused on one political side of the spectrum, right? And she has millions of views on one of her videos because she had a local doc. She met a doctor at this thing, and she had him on to come talk about COVID, right? It's craziness.
What's the show, Brian?
I told you. I just wanted to talk about coronavirus all day.
I love when he says
it's called America. Can we talk?
So it's called.
So here's the thing. And I'll be honest. I literally like when we met her, I'm like, all right, like I'm not. I don't want. It's not talking bad. I'm just like, oh, like
it ain't my speed.
It's not my speed, but at the same time, I didn't know we were meeting somebody that had that much influence and following.
Right.
She does a Monday through Friday show.
Oh, she does it every day.
Every day, right?
5 days a week.
And I mean, I sent you that video, and I'm like, holy smokes, like 1 million views in 6 days, and it's over these topics. So I will tell you, you bring up the school stuff, right? So there is a video I'm about to shoot. My mom, Dr. Good, she has a show at RC,
so when you think of it,
Real News that we just left, the Ask Dr. Be Good show, and one thing that would be great, you rip this off and duplicate it, and then go sign up at touracademy.com, be a part of our membership, so that you get more ideas like this, right? Because we're not going to give all the nuggets away.
No, that'd be crazy.
But is there going to be a change in just the, certain people, people will want to move into certain neighborhoods because they go to certain schools, not just the district, but schools. But if we're all going online, now the neighborhoods don't matter as much.
That's true.
Right?
It's probably not going to be the number one criteria for people anymore.
Mm-hmm.
least
And
for a
I'm
while.
starting to see a lot of people who never considered before. Now they're forcing that. They're going homeschooled.
Yeah.
So is these certain cities where they have higher tax rates?
Yeah.
Are they going to be hurting more? Because now, if
Yeah.
you're going homeschool for a while, if this is something for the foreseeable future,
Yep.
they may be moving into other areas that has a lower tax rate.
Yeah.
And that's something just to send out to bring up, just food for thought for people that's in your database. And
Sure.
interview a superintendent, interview a teacher on that, interview how to best keep your kids engaged if it's all virtual.
Yep.
And I'm going to tell you that my stepdaughter during the last school year when it was all virtual, there was hardly any engagement on
No, I
that,
bet.
right? I'm like,
Well, dude, I mean, look, I've got a 5-year-old.
Yeah.
Like the idea of virtual, like, here's the thing is, and this is totally off the subject, but I think this is why it's a great content topic. Is like, for somebody like me, social distancing for kindergartners is impossible.
Sure.
Right? If the decision is made for him to go back to school, we're accepting some certain truths. That these kids are not going to social distance.
Right.
You're not going to keep 5-year-olds away from each other.
Yeah.
He also isn't going to learn via Zoom either.
Dude.
Right? So, like, am I taking the chance of taking my son, who's already going to be the oldest kid in his class because he'll be 6 in August.
Okay.
He's a boy, so we decided to wait that extra year. Right? Am I putting him so far behind the 8 ball by not
Yeah.
sending him to school, or am I protecting him because I'm a parent who doesn't want my kid in a hospital with coronavirus and I can't go see him? Like, I just think there's also an awareness to around just your content. This has nothing to do with the 52 weeks, but just an awareness around like the type of content that you can bring to people that will pull people into your world. And you need to be hyper aware of just world stuff going on. I think it's really important.
I mean, we're talking about we work in an industry where people are making a lot of times the biggest financial decision in your life that is highly dependent on their sentiment towards world events a lot, right? So a lot of your engagement could just be about what is going on, or a lot of your content and stuff like that. It's super engaging. So
absolutely. So if this was valuable to you, go over to the only real estate group worth being a part of. Request access in our Facebook group, as well as go to iTunes, subscribe, leave us a review, and go to touracademy.com, sign up for the membership, $97 a month. There's lifetime access in there, right? If you go and watch the webinar, there's still that $1.
Yeah.
There's still the $1 offer in there. So if you go to touracademy.com/take10, watch our webinar on how to take 10 plus listings every single month. You will then be able to sign up for Tour Academy for that $1 promotion. Our buddy Joe Rosen is just now tuning in. So Joe,
we've been pumping you up the whole time, brother.
you're going to want to go back and listen to this.
Just talking about you.
Yeah, all bad. So you're going to want to listen to this, but and we definitely appreciate the sharing and the friendship with you, and hopefully you get all the Port St. Lucie referrals.
Absolutely.
And so
That's all mine.
Yep. And then we're going to figure out next week if our show is going to be running correctly, because I don't know if Brian's going to be able
about
to
50-50.
if Brian's going to be able to take us out.
I think we're doing a pretty damn good job of figuring this out on our own. And like I said, I just always remember, like, no matter what you think about whatever our businesses look like, whatever we're doing, like, you're watching it unfold live every day of us just trying to figure stuff out. And we are not special, man. I said this on Andy's podcast on The Resourceful Agent. Like, if you think that it's not messy at every single level, like, again, there was a time when Brian and I wanted a business exactly like Nick because we thought it was way cleaner and way easier, right? And then Nick's got guys that he thinks he wants a business like. And I'm sure there's guys way higher than us that are in our organizations. Adam Hergenrother, right? Like Jay and Mike. It's all just dirty, sloppy mess, and we're just figuring it out all the time. So, like, whether you're moving to a new city, you're trying to start your business wherever you're at, don't be afraid to, like, just jump in the muck and start digging your way out, because so far that's the only way I've figured out this works.
100%.
Well, boys, we've been running for 53 minutes. We have no time constraints on this show anymore, but I want to see if Brian can handle this. So have him take us out.